Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Eddie Proudfoot podcast. Today, on our 26th episode, we are going to be talking about the environment in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. So let's get started. Specifically, we're going to be talking about some aspects of the environment to do with falling, suffocating, as well as food and water. So starting with the first one, falling. In D&D, falling hurts. It's not good. We want to avoid falling if we can, at all costs, because falling can add quite a bit of damage that we do not need to or want to take. And every 10 feet that you fall in D&D results in 1d6 bludgeoning damage. This goes up to a maximum of 20d6 bludgeoning damage, so after 200 feet, it does not matter how far you have fallen, you will be taking 20d6 bludgeoning damage. Unfortunately for you. The other thing we would like to avoid is suffocating. We can suffocate in many different ways, the most common of which is drowning. Luckily, you can hold your breath in D&D, and you can do so for a number of minutes equal to 1 plus your Constitution modifier. The minimum of this is 30 seconds, so even if your Constitution modifier is negative, you still get 30 seconds of holding your breath. Now, what happens when we run out of time? So eventually, if we don't surface from the water or stop suffocating, we're going to start choking. When you're choking, time is of the essence. You need to stop choking immediately, otherwise you are going to start dying. So you have a number of rounds equal to your Constitution modifier, minimum 1 round. Again, if your Constitution modifier was 0 or negative. Now, once that number of rounds has passed, you are now dying and will begin to make death saving throws. Not only that, you cannot become stable or regain hit points until whatever is causing you to suffocate stops. So if you're drowning, you need to resurface to get air. If you are choking on an object, you need to have that object removed. This is one of the other conditions when it comes to suffocating. So keep that in mind. It's a little bit more serious of a death than normally getting knocked to 0 HP is. Okay, so that takes us to the third topic of today, which is food and water. Now, food and water, in my experience playing in many different D&D campaigns and running several D&D campaigns, food and water is an overlooked aspect of the game. Yes, we all have rations in our inventory when we start. Yes, water is essential for life as we know it, and D&D makes this assumption as well. In order to survive in D&D, you need to consume 1 pound of food a day. You can survive on half rations for a certain number of days, but if you go 3 plus your Constitution modifier, again, minimum 1, number of days without eating, then you will start to automatically get exhaustion points. So remember, if you get 6 points of exhaustion, you straight up die. So if you do not eat in D&D for potentially a week and a bit, you will die. I know it's a little bit less realistic than what people can get away with in real life. I think I've heard before that you can go a month without eating food, but I wouldn't recommend it. So that's just the rules of the game. However, like I said, most DMs don't strictly enforce food. What I typically do is assume they eat rations. And when I'm keeping track of days in my little log, I'll say to them next time they go in town, hey, you guys might want to get food. I think you're probably running low. Or I'll remind them of this. Maybe they're out in the wilderness and some event happens where all of their food has been stolen or something by scavengers in the woods. You know, there are ways that DMs can make this an interesting point, but I think it becomes a little bit monotonous if you always have to go into town, make sure you have the right food and stuff like that. It just depends on what adventuring style the party wants and the DM's style of narration. So these are things that really can make this rule more or less important. Okay, disclaimer out of the way. The next part of that is water. So water is also essential. You need to drink a gallon of water a day. If you drink less than that, but more than half, you then have to make a DC 15 Constitution saving throw. If you fail, you become exhausted. Now, if you drink less than half a gallon of water a day, you will immediately get the exhaustion point, no save. Now, again, exhaustion's really bad. If we get 6 levels, you straight up die. Here's the thing with exhaustion from water. If you already have 1 or more points of exhaustion, you don't just get 1 level of exhaustion from not drinking enough water, you get 2. So this really expedites the death process. Please drink water. It's very good for your survival in adventures. Okay, that's everything I want to talk about today. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Eddie Proudfoot podcast. If you enjoyed it, please follow us on Instagram, Spotify, or Twitter. And as always, may the gods have mercy on your soul.